Hey everyone, Cheoff Geoff here. Welcome to my kitchen. So if you're a subscriber, I'd like to say thank you very much for tuning in. But if you're new to the page, just want to give you a quick shout out saying thanks for dropping by. And please don't forget to hit that old subscribe button, like and share as you need. And we're just going to get right into it. So today, we're going to be talking soups. It's great comfort food. It's a bit of a blustery day out there, not too warm. And what we're going to be making today is a classic creamy tomato soup with grilled cheese croutons. So if you want to think like a chef, you have to accept the fact or recognize the fact that there's some ingredients that are just great out of a can. So for today's application in the soup, we're going to be using some canned tomatoes. This is a really large industrial sized can of crushed tomatoes. These are 7440 tomatoes. You can use whatever you have on hand, but this is a really great product. It's either this or San Marzano tomatoes. The 7440 means there's actually 74 ounces of crushed and blanched tomatoes right in there. It's just pure tomato, nothing else. And it's a really great product to work with. So let's get started here. We're just gonna get a little bit of heat going on in my pot. Just a touch of olive oil. All right. And what we're gonna start with is some chopped Spanish onion. And I'll show you guys a really easy technique to cut this guy up here. All right. So I got a feeling this is a really ripe tomato, so I may start weeping a little bit, but that's just how it rolls. So I got half of a white onion, excuse me. So just keep your knife really flat. We're gonna cut 3 flat cuts right through it, and then just keep going the other way. And then you just chop it and hold it in place. What this does is it gives you nice fine cuts of the onion. And we're just gonna chuck that right in there. Great. Not crying too much, so that's good, because I was cutting the other one up and I was weeping like a baby. All right. Most of it is getting in the pot, so that's good. So I've also got some, I also want some fresh tomatoes in with this soup as well, so we're going to be throwing these tomatoes in. I'll give you a quick explanation about how to cut these up as well, but in the meantime, whenever you're building something in a pot like this, always start with seasoning and end with seasoning. So just a touch of salt, a touch of pepper. We're going to throw in some chopped garlic. That's probably 3-4 cloves worth of chopped garlic. We're going to let this kind of all come together. I've got it on pretty good high heat just to start softening our veggies. We'll move back to the tomato here real quick. Oh, got onion all over the place. Great. Tomatoes can be a little tricky. Depending on how ripe they are, the skin can be really soft. So make sure you're using a really nice sharp knife. And this is just, quick, thin cuts. They don't have to be super precise. So I'll show you just a really simple technique for holding your knife. So I'm left-handed, so it's a little different, but you always have yourself angled away from your fingers. So my fingers are curled away, and I'm cutting farther away. Turning it to the side. I should probably show you how I'm holding my knife as well. So some people invariably will try to hold their knife like this, and you don't get the same kind of range of movement. But if you just walk your hand a little bit over and you're going to put this little finger here over, this thumb right over, you got a lot more range of movement. You can get a little bit more control. So we're going to do the same process here. Drop this in. Tomatoes are going in the pot. Oh, you can already smell the garlic really getting activated in there. Great, we got some really good caramelization already happening. Now, what I've got here is a little spice blend. So I've got a teaspoon of cumin, teaspoon of chili powder, a little bit of paprika, and then just maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes. We're gonna throw those in. And we're just gonna kind of start building just a touch of flavor. Great. So I love making soups. Soups are a really good way to teach young cooks how to use up disparate ingredients to turn into something that's great and easy. Soups also teach you when something is done. A soup should take 30 minutes in your pot. From everything from cutting to executing it, cooking it, seasoning it, finishing it. All right, so what I've got here, I've got things kind of sweated a little bit. We're really starting to get the really good smell coming out of that spice blend. We're starting to break down the tomatoes a little bit. I'm gonna turn this up nice and high. What we got here is 1/3 cup of red wine. Throw that in there. Let that reduce. And we're gonna start adding our tomatoes and a little bit of veg stock. And we'll go from there. Great. So here's our tomatoes. That's 1. That's 2, making a mess. It's what I do best. So if you don't have chicken stock or veg stock or anything else, you can just use some water. Maybe just add a touch more salt while you're going here. We're gonna let this thing all come together. All right, that's the rest of our veg stock. Once everything's in, just a quick season. Now this the last little piece we got to use here is just a touch of apple cider vinegar. It's going to add a touch of acidity to it. That's actually the second last thing. We're going to add that apple cider vinegar and then just a little bit of sugar. Okay, so third last. So bay leaves, 1 single bay leaf, in you go. And some sugar. All right. This is basically a teaspoon of sugar. Perfect. This is all mixed together. It's already starting to smell fragrant, and it actually looks really nice and rustic. We're gonna end up blending this in the end, but if you want, you can just leave it rustic and don't bother blending it. Great. So we got about 30 minutes here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this up to a boil. We're gonna let it simmer. We're gonna let all those veggies kind of come together and all that stuff. And we'll be back in 5-10 minutes. No, that's a lie. 30 minutes. Cheers. I gotta tell you guys, it smells really, really good in here. Just got that, there's this element of it just being so comforting. The smell just makes you feel comfortable when you're making soup. It's just a very soothing thing. All right, so I've taken the soup off the heat. It's just cooling here. But first off, we're gonna make the grilled cheese croutons. Now, if you remember from one of my other videos with the ultimate cheeseburger, I was singing the praises of good old American cheese. And it's got 2 applications that are just perfect. 1 is for burgers, 2 is for grilled cheese. So we're gonna get the grilled cheese working here. I've got my cast iron skillet with a little bit of heat. Liberal amounts of butter on both sides of the bread. There we are. And these are gonna be just cheesy goodness. Lots of butter there. Just gonna make sure this is up too high. We're gonna turn you way down because that's gonna burn real quick. Perfect. All right, we're gonna let this grill do the work. Back to the soup. First thing you wanna do is get rid of that bay leaf. We're gonna be blending this thing up with a hand blender. We'll get back to that in a moment. So to finish the soup, one thing that I really enjoy doing is finishing with a little bit of pesto. And if you don't have pesto hanging around, no big deal, but I'm lucky enough to do so. So we're just add a little tablespoon of pesto into there. We're also going to, I've also got some soft herbs here. What I've got is a little bit of dill and a little bit of Thai basil. The dill will probably overpower a little bit, but all we're gonna do is rough chop them and throw them in. And the minute you start cutting these things, it's just the aroma of these herbs really just kind of explode. So in we go. Great. The other key point with fresh herbs, whether you're making soups or stews or whatever it is, always add your herbs at the end. After you've removed them, whatever it is from the heat. If you throw in your herbs early, they're gonna go black and all the aroma and natural oils will kind of die from all that heat. You want indirect heat to finish. All right, so I've got my handy dandy hand blender. Just gonna check and see how these guys are doing. Oh yeah, we're good. Great. Got the hand blender here. Now I haven't used one of these in the kitchen for a while, so I'm gonna try not to make a huge mess. We'll see what happens. So if you don't have one of these guys, a little small blender is great. You can use a juice blender, you can use a food processor, or you can just not blend it at all. But for this application, I'm gonna get a nice smooth soup. So here we go. So while this is all blending, no mess yet, great. We're gonna add a little bit of, this is really heavy cream, 35% French cream. And there we go. See how it just changes the color? And we're just gonna add a lot of richness to this soup. We're gonna get this as basically as smooth as we can. I'm just gonna keep adding our cream until we're good to go. Oh, we're gonna explode, kind of explode a little bit, that's all right. Perfect, great. I think it needs a touch more cream, so what I'm gonna do is add just a little bit more. This is, so far I've got a cup in there, but I feel like it needs just a little bit more. So we're looking at about 1.5 cups of nice heavy cream. And it just changes the color of the soup. It went from that kind of deep red to this orangey, oh, you can just smell that. You get the pesto coming, you have the fresh herbs coming, plus all that fresh tomato smell, plus a little bit of the spice blend kind of really comes out as well. Now, I really hope I haven't burned my grilled cheese. Oh, they're perfect. Great. There we go. Stamp these guys down. We're just going to check and see if we're getting melty at all. Perfect, we are. All right. So these need about 20 seconds, but in the meantime, I'm going to get this soup ready to go here. Pour some in the bowl. All right. Yeah, that's just like comfort right in a bowl. Yeah, you got really good body. It's looking great. Perfect. All right. Grilled cheese croutons, how you looking here? Oh yeah, you're nice and melty. Perfection. So we're just gonna cut up one of these real quick. So get rid of those crusts. Eat them later, of course, because you know nothing goes to waste here. And you're just literally gonna cut them into little squares. Let's see if we're all melty and gooey. Oh, we sure are. Great. And then just get these all over the place. There we go, grilled cheese croutons. And I mean, grilled cheese and tomato soup, they're just made for each other. It's kind of like grilling and beer, or you know, a steak and red wine. Oh yeah, they're looking good. All right. There you have it, everybody. Creamy tomato soup with grilled cheese croutons from Cheoff Geoff's kitchen. Cheers.